And remember yesterday, I kind of think it was somewhat late in the show when the news about Caleb Grill leaving Iowa State with a game to go, dismissed from the team. He put out statements. We had some of that later in the show. Jared Stansberry, he covers Iowa State. Great guy to have on for anything. Iowa State joins us. Cyclone Fanatic joins us on 365 Sports. So obviously, this came out of nowhere, Jared. Was this like shocking when that news came out yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was for, a lot of people, but, I think the thing I'll say is that this is something that had, been brewing behind the scenes, that, there were maybe some rumblings and things like that of, some issues that were going on. And, it was just kind of a slow build up to where, ultimately something came to a head, and they felt that the situation was not something that could be dealt with any longer.
Is there any more clarity other than it was? I mean, he said something in front of the team or to the team that was just kind of over the line, and it was the last straw. Is that where they've kind of landed on this, as far as what we know? More
or less, yeah. I mean, I think like I said, I think there's a lot more to it, because I think you especially think with his relationship with TJ Otzelberger, and they've been connected for a long time now. As he signed with TJ when TJ was at South Dakota State, and then it came to Iowa State as a freshman, but then goes to UNLV to play for TJ out there. Like, this is a relationship that was probably going to take more than just one thing to kind of crater it. So I think that this is something that's been brewing, and like I said, I think there was something that happened this week. What exactly that is, we don't really have any clarity on that side of it, but I think it was something that was kind of a straw breaking the camel's back more than anything else.
So, Jared, this comes at a time where, just in general, the program's struggling in a big-time losing streak, kind of limping here down the stretch with just one game to go, obviously, against Baylor to close the regular season. And then, the Big 12 tournament, obviously. What's just the kind of feel right now around the team, and this being, kind of insult to injury, but this past few weeks and the struggles, what have you made of it?
Hey, man, the Big 12 is a lot of fun when you're winning games, but let me tell you, when you're losing, the best league in America is not very fun anymore. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a lot of the issues for Iowa State right now. And when this team is playing well, which I really felt for most of that game, Monday night, Gabe Kalsher got into some foul trouble early, and that kind of hurt him in the first half. But I thought especially in the second half of the game, Iowa State really looked like themselves for a pretty solid portion of that, and then couldn't stop fouling down the stretch, and that really helped West Virginia to be able to win the game. But I think when this team is playing well, there's maybe 20 teams in the country that are better than them. The only issue is that 6 of them are in their league.
Yeah, that's a great point. They 7-4 against the AP Top 25. Of course, they've lost their 4 in a row. Can they just get it back? We've seen everybody in the conference go through this. This is longer than most everybody else, though, by losing 8 of their last 10.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some dots to connect here, between these the two topics here, where there's been some things going on behind the scenes that have maybe prevented the vibes from being what you need to be able to have a really high-functioning basketball team. So I think that the hope is now you get an addition by subtraction type of situation, but until they take the floor on Saturday, I don't think we're going to know for sure what we're going to get.
Don't you, if you're coach, anybody that goes through something like this, even though perhaps Grill, cut himself here, but isn't this how you gain even more respect from the community and also from your players and program because you do make this decision?
I think it absolutely is. And I think especially knowing TJ, I'm not going to pretend that TJ is my best friend by any means, but knowing him enough, he's going to do what he thinks is right. And I don't think that there's going to be much other consideration. It's what's the right thing to do. I also don't think that he would make a decision like this without considerable discussions and consultation with not only his other coaches, but with his team, and understanding what the temperature of the room is, So that's where I kind of leaned that this would not happen if this was not something that numerous people within the equation wanted to happen. And if that is the case, then that has to make you think that there was something that was bad enough to throw the mojo off behind the scenes for this team. And when this team is not overly talented to begin with, and you stop having everything from a culture perspective going the right way, then things can really go sideways quickly. And obviously that's what you're seeing right now for Iowa State.
Do you think that obviously it's not great to have this first iteration of the team without a guy that you were used to having on the floor against Baylor on the road, the last game of the season. But let's just take that one out of the equation because like you said, you don't know. Do you think this is maybe good that they could get a couple games in the Big 12 tournament before the NCAA tournament to kind of figure that out?
I mean, I really think the good thing is that Caleb Grill missed a bunch of games. Like he didn't play with in 3 games, I think, with the back injury, and then really was limited in almost all of the games that he came back and did play in. I think he was 6 of 26 from 3 over the last several weeks, and just wasn't even, was a shell of himself from an on-court perspective. And so, this is not a situation where Iowa State's never had to play without Caleb Grill before.
Sure.
Now all of a sudden they do. So it's not necessarily, obviously when you don't have him at all, I guess we're going to see, how they're able to react to that thing. But this is a team that, even when they beat Kansas at Hilton Coliseum a couple weeks ago, I think Caleb Grill was 3 for 10 from the field and 1 for 7 from 3-point range, and they still won. So it's just like this team has the ability to play well without Caleb Grill, or play well with, with him not playing at a high level or not really making much of a contribution. It just is, some guys are going to have to step up. Some guys are going to have to fill, some bigger roles, and we'll see what happens. But, I still think that, with what this team still has, they've got the pieces to be a high level defensive team. And they're going to have to play the way that, they know they need to play as far as controlling the ball and playing really slow, and, really being able to work the shot clock if they're going to be able to have any success offensively.
Well, Holmes obviously tough as nails, and then is it Kalsher? Is Gabe Kalsher? Obviously, those are the 2 leading scorers, and then Grill. Lipsey's more of a point guard, or at least a distributor. Who then has the minutes? Who is it? Is it Watson? Who then has to step up? King, they haven't played much, although Watson's having 11 minutes a game. Is there somebody else you think then steps up?
Yeah, I mean, I think Demarion Watson probably would be the most likely candidate in that scenario, just to try and have to fill some more minutes. He's a guy who I think defensively brings a lot of really good stuff for Iowa State as a freshman. The offensive end of the floor is still kind of a work in progress, but again, he's a freshman, so just kind of part of the development for him. But, Trey King is a guy who's more of a four-man, small 5 type man that, I'm sure he'll be asked to play some more minutes and have to fill another role. And then, Jazz Kunc is obviously back from injury now, has been back about 3 weeks and didn't play in that first game against Baylor. So he's a guy that, at times have not had him really during this stretch where they've been trying to kind of work through some of these things. So, I mean, I think that, Jazz is probably a guy who will really need to step up as far as from a shooting standpoint. He's one of the more consistent shooters on the team, or has been for really the last 2 years. And they're going to need somebody else to step up in that area for them to be able to fill some of the void. Obviously, you're losing 9 points in a guy who shoots almost 40% from 3. So not easy to replace.
Hey, Jared, to close it out, I've got a totally off-topic question for you. It has nothing to do with basketball, but it's the Iowa State perspective. We were reading, I'm sure you've looked over the Big 12 and Brett Yormark obviously trying to spice up the basketball tournament, DJ Diesel and the menu items. What was your opinion on the Cyclones tenderloin as the choice for Iowa State?
So you're going to have to refresh my memory. What all was on it? It was like pickles and something. It's Kaiser
bun, breaded pork tenderloin, sliced onion, sweet and spicy pickles.
Yeah, so I'm not a huge onion or pickles guy, so I'd maybe just get the tenderloin. I mean, up here we got good tenderloin, so if it's anything like what we have up here in Iowa, then I know that it'll be good. But I don't know. You get down into Missouri, you don't know what you're going to get down there.
There's been a lot of debate on my timeline. Somebody put up something on my Twitter line about the tournament in Kansas City, and of course they've done a great job. We mentioned it yesterday. There are maybe a couple of other options. I love it there. Some people feel like it's obviously an advantage for Iowa State. It was for Missouri and then KU. Kansas State's never won that tournament. Do you see Iowa State fans, aren't they there as much as even KU fans when it comes to the tournament?
I'll tell you guys right now, there is nothing like Iowa State versus Kansas on Saturday night in that tournament. Nothing like it. It's like 50-50 split down the arena. Oh, it's incredible. And it gets so loud and it's so much fun. You know, and I'm sure it is the same way with every fan base that's in there, but they call it Hilton South for a reason. Mm-hmm. And that's because Iowa State fans sure love to fill that place. I don't know how long this day is going to be next weekend, but if the Cyclones win a game or two, you better believe it'll be painted cardinal and gold.
Well, I do. I hope they turn it around because they had such a great run. They're 7-4 against the top 25. They've had some great wins, and obviously the Saturday at Baylor. Who knows? You never know. Sometimes you get better without a guy. I mean, I'm not better, but you sometimes gel in some ways.
Let me tell you, I've been in Kansas City with our friend Adam Smokey and his friends, and they don't go to the games. And I'm in bars with Iowa State fans, just scores of them that just showed up to be there.
What do you mean there was a basketball game?
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely. All right. Craig, anything else for Jared? Jared, thank you. We'll be talking to you down the road with spring drills and all that other good stuff, and hopefully maybe a deep run with Iowa State and other teams in the Big 12 too.
Yep, sounds good. Looking forward to it, fellas.
Thank you. You too, Jared. That's Jared Stansbury. Does a great job.